Good evening, friends. Myself, Dr. Nidhi Darbari, in My Education Treasure. In my previous video on feedback of microteaching, I had discussed about the principles, steps, and sources of feedback of microteaching. Today, in my present video, I am going to tell you about the feedback settings and types of feedback of microteaching. First, we'll discuss about feedback settings. The settings for providing feedback are classified into two broad categories: individual feedback setting and group feedback setting. It will depend on the availability of the facility, the type of feedback, and the type of student teacher who is to be provided with the feedback. First is individual feedback setting. In this setting, the supervisor provides feedback to the student teacher individually. After the completion of the lesson, the supervisor and the student teacher discuss the strong and the weak points of the lesson. Thus, there is bi-personal setting in the individual feedback. It may be called uni-supervisors or uni-student setting. The supervisor pinpoints the undesirable teaching behavior and suggests the ways to improve these behavior. The individual feedback setting has some advantages like direct interaction, privacy, establishment of rapport, immediate feedback, change in activity. But this activity is time consuming. Group feedback setting. The second category of feedback setting is group feedback setting, which is systematic approach of giving information and opinion to student teachers for the purpose of improving their teaching behavior. There are three types of group feedback setting, namely uni-supervisor multi-training setting, multi-supervisor uni-training setting, and multi-supervisor multi-training setting. First, we will discuss about uni-supervisor multi-trainee setting. In uni-supervisor multi-trainee setting, feedback is provided by a single supervisor to a group of 10 student teachers. When all the student teachers have taught one lesson each, then the supervisor provides feedback to the whole group. He discusses the most occurring behaviors and gives his suggestion. This can be done in two ways. Firstly, the supervisor pinpoints the undesirable teaching behavior of a particular student teacher after the completion of one lesson. In this way, the supervisor provides feedback on all the lessons of that group of student teachers one by one. It is somewhat similar to the individual feedback but differs from it as far as the number of observed participant is concerned. Secondly, the feedback may be provided by a single supervisor to a group of teacher students simultaneously. In this setting, each student teacher teaches one lesson. During the teaching session, the supervisor observes the lesson of each student on a prescribed observation schedule. Before providing the feedback, the supervisor compiles a list of common errors and undesirable teaching behavior of all the students on the basis of individual observation schedule. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to my video to motivate me, share it with others, and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. Next is multi-supervisor and uni-trainee setting. In multi-supervisor uni-trainee setting, there are more than one supervisor for observing the lesson and providing the feedback to a particular student teacher. Due to the high ratio of student teacher and the teacher educator, a supervisor in each group 20:1, it is not possible to provide more than one teacher educator as supervisor to each group. Thus, in this setting, peers act as supervisors in addition to one teacher educator. The lesson of the student teacher is observed by a group of peer supervisors. At the end of the lesson, the group of peer supervisor provides a feedback to a particular student teacher. This setting is useful in the initial stage of feedback and has less chances of dominance. The next is multi-supervisor and multi-training settings. In multi-supervisor, multi-training settings, a group of supervisors provides feedback to a group of student teachers simultaneously. All the student teachers of the group deliver one lesson each. Each lesson is observed by a group of supervisors after the completion of one lesson and prepares a list of common points of strength and weakness. After this, the group of supervisors provides feedback to the whole group of student teachers. The whole situation looks like open discussion. The advantages of this type of feedback setting are critical observation, complexity reduced, economical in time. But this type of setting has some limitations also, like feedback is global and general, and it is difficult to manage. Now we come to the types of feedback. The feedback is of three types: positive feedback, negative feedback, and mixed feedback. First, we'll discuss about positive feedback. In positive feedback, the student teacher is informed about the strong points of his performance. This is done on the assumption that he will feel a sense of achievement which provides an incentive. In reality, in absence of information about weak points, the student teacher may not be able to pinpoint the direction along which he can improve in a systematic manner. The next is negative feedback. In negative feedback, the student teacher is informed about his weak points in his performance. Some experts feel that feedback on strong points is redundant for improvement in subsequent practice. It is sufficient to provide information about weak points only. This will provide the focus for improvement through further practice. Only negative points in his performance will demoralize the student teacher practicing the skill. And the last one is mixed feedback. In mixed feedback, the teacher student receives information about the strong and weak points in his performance. He should be aware about their negative and positive points in their performance. Mixed type of feedback is of greater use in modifying behavior of the student teacher. This approach is likely to instill a sense of achievement and confidence in student teacher and provides pointed guidelines for achievement in the subsequent skill. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe.